Bienvenidos to my May reading wrap-up. Couple updates. My hair is shorter. There's less of it. And this is a door. Knock, knock. It's a door. And I put up this scarf that I got from the Met. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The lighting changed drastically. As to add visual interest, I didn't iron it. It's just taped up with painter's tape. I need to stop moving because I really am messing up the lighting here. Okay, I'll try not to do that. I don't know how effective I'll be. Anyway, this is my May reading wrap up. I just uploaded my April reading wrap up, so that's fun. This should be pretty short. I read 4 books, and I will say that it was the books that I enjoyed, which should be shortened to book. The book that I enjoyed, there's so little to really say about it. Like, I don't think it's like not that it's like not a discussion worthy book, but it was like my enjoyment of it was so great that all I have to say is please read this book. Versus, I don't know, sometimes I think I have books that like have a little more oomph to them, a little more juice to them. Okay, so getting started, the first book I finished was Manazuru by Hiromi Kawakami. I thought this book was fine. It sort of takes place, this woman, she's lost her husband. She is constantly going back to this one town and these weird people follow her, and it sort of discusses her relationship with her husband, her relationship to her teenage daughter, and a couple other people in her life. It has sort of like a weirdness to it. I will say in the 3 books I've read by Hiromi Kawakami, this is definitely the middle of the road to me. It wasn't like a terrible read. Like had fine time reading it, but it was like so boring that I definitely wouldn't recommend it to anyone, and I don't think I'd ever want to read it again. And it didn't leave the kind of impression that I felt with Strange Weather in Tokyo, where I think Strange Weather in Tokyo did a really good job of creating this interesting and unique atmosphere. This book didn't do that. It was kind of fine. And so, and then 10 Loves of Mr. Nishino, I just really didn't like that book. I don't know if I will try any more Hiromi Kawakami. Like, on one hand, I've kind of had a very blah attitude towards her writing so far. But on the other hand, I do feel like her name kind of pops up around a lot, and I might want to continue exploring her work. Next up, I finished The Angel of Indian Lake. The Indian Lake trilogy, the final installment. I absolutely love this. I think that Stephen Graham Jones is a fabulous writer. I love Jay Daniels as a character. I thought this was a great way to end the series. I think it did a great job of like continuing these characters, taking them someplace interesting, just doing something really beautiful with the story, especially in the end, but also I think not like forgetting about characters. I think that he takes really good care of his characters, and he kind of uses them in a really interesting way. I think that this book kind of constantly had surprises, twists and turns, and it was really enjoyable to continue. I felt that sense of anxiety, that sense of what's going to happen next, what's around the corner, and I just love this book and the series so much. I recommend this to so many people, and I really wish that they would read it because I just want to have people in my personal life that I can like gush about these books with. And I'm really excited to have finished these. Sad to have seen it concluded. Very happy to finish this because I can go on reading different Stephen Graham Jones. And I know that I will definitely read this series sometime later in my life because I just love it so much. And that's what I mean by saying I had a book that I finished that I enjoyed. That's like, what more can I say? I loved this book. Next, I listened to Think Big, Take Small Steps, and Build the Future You Want by Grace Lordan. This is sort of in the vein of a self-help book, but I think what distinguishes it potentially from other books is that Grace has a lot of experience in like understanding different biases and stuff like that. Let me see if I can find it in the description. Behavioral science. She's like some history in behavioral science. I think that provided some benefit to this, but I don't think that it personally, I don't know, the way that I feel about self-help book is a lot of self-help books are like, are you a perfectionist? Are you perfect at everything? Do you struggle because you work too hard? Like, that's what a lot of these things are built for. Or like, are you just so nervous and anxious you can't get off the ground? Or like you have a goal and you want to achieve that goal. I think that this book did a good job of kind of maybe providing a very wide array of advice, but personally it's like, I don't know, I need like motivation advice for people who are chaotic, semi-confident, lazy people. I'm not saying that I'm like lazy, but I'm not lazy. Yeah, so I guess I'm looking for a book written for people like me. So if you ever meet someone and you're like, that person reminds me of Dead Lizard, and if they've written a self-help book, send it my way. I don't know. I think it was such a like middle of the road book, and I feel like that's how I feel about most self-help. I don't know how much self-help I've read, but I don't think I have a very high opinion of the genre. And lastly, in the month, I actually physically read Battle Royale by Koushan Takami. This book kind of took me a while to end up finishing, even though while I read it, it like read very quickly. It was a very fast-paced read in my opinion, and I didn't dislike it. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I think that for what it is, it's a very good version of that. It's a very good version of like a violent story, Lord of the Flies Battle Royale style book. I think that if you've read Hunger Games, I think that this is an interesting similar take on the same concept, but like the government structured differently, the characters are structured differently, and I think that it does a good job of both talking about the violence but also like the personal lives of these characters and also like their political view of the world around them. Like I think it does a good job at all of that. It doesn't it's not like violence for the sake of violence. I don't think that the goal was to like fetishize the violence against the kids, but I also think that it wasn't like so sensitive, right? There's definitely certain parts of this book that are like, ugh, that's a little yikesy, like some of the conversations around like sex in the book for people, like, ugh, that was a little like not the most fun to read. Like, I don't know, I wasn't like bothered by it, but I could totally see that being a major complaint people would have. So be aware that, you know, like sex work for minors is a conversation here. And yeah, I didn't like I don't know, in the scale of like, this is a country where children are fighting each other to the death yearly. I wasn't like, oh, that's where my line is. That stuff's too far. Like, obviously, I'm reading a book with extreme violence. Like, that's not gonna be my problem. I think, yeah, it was, I hate to use the word enjoyable, but it was good, fast-paced, and not so caught up in describing the violence that it ignored developing characters. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I'm glad I read it. Because I feel like it's kind of in some way, like it's such a cult classic in a way, and I really do want to watch the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but that's kind of on my list for if I have an afternoon off or an evening off, is to watch Battle Royale now. So those were all the books that I read in March. Currently, I'm starting to read The Bonefire again in the goal of finishing it. So that's my current reading, and I will see you soon with a new video. Let me know what you think of my scarf background. Anyway, other than that, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.